I will request Mr. Aejaz Saiyed, Senior Manager, Emerging Technology Division, EMC, to share his vision how industry can participate in this digital India ecosystem.
All right, great. Now for my presentation. Well, I love technology. It never works when you really want it to. So, by the time my presentation comes up, my name is Aejaz. I'm part of EMC. EMC is a $22 billion organization, global organization in the space of IT infrastructure and data and information management. And well, that brings up our presentation. All right, and I'm here to talk about the connected digital cities. But before I begin, it was lovely to hear from you, sir. As a citizen of India, it's lovely, probably my first opportunity to really hear the government initiatives from the government side. You know, we always, as vendors, as IT industry, we keep talking to customers and vendors and amongst ourselves, but here was a very good perspective, so thank you very much for that. You know, I'm going to talk about something which is so obvious. The world has changed forever. Do we agree? Yeah, in the last 4 or 5 years, it really has changed. I mean, I personally believe, and I was just about to say this, I am here to bring all the experience. We are prevalent, we are there in every country in the world, multiple offices across the globe, and I'm here to bring all that global experience into my presentation today. So we really see that going forward, the world has changed and is changing. You know, by 2020, this is what's going to happen. Right? 7 billion connected people. Forget the population of the world. What is now getting more important or equally important is how many of them, what is the population of the connected world? And that population is 7 billion. 30 billion connected devices, all of it, the people and the devices generating 44 zettabytes of data. Don't even try and imagine how much of that data is. Right? Don't even try multiplying how many times the pen drive is 44 zettabytes of data. All you need to know is it really is the amount of data that we've not seen up till now. All the IT infrastructure in the world, for the largest banks, the largest telcos, have not seen 44 zettabytes of data. And what is also interesting is that a lot of it, and is it surprising, a lot of it is going to be in APJ, Asia Pacific and Japan. So of the 7 billion connected people, 3.7 billion in APJ, 8.6 billion connected devices in APJ. And while I don't have figures, I won't be surprised again if a lion's share of this connected devices and connected individuals will be in our country. Right? So that's the premise on which we are living. That's the thing that we will talk about today. Right? And what has happened? Where do you see digital disruption? And I'm not too sure if you've really seen it this way, but I'll present in the next half a minute. I'm going to present a very different perspective. Right? Did the largest taxi owners, the fleet car owners, did they ever imagine that their competition is going to be from an IT player, an IT company? But make no mistakes, Uber is an IT company. Right? Uber is an IT company. It does not own any taxis. So probably a lot of car fleet owners were found napping. Right? Similarly, there are multiple examples in hotel chains, book industry. Never thought that they'll face competition from, again, an online portal, right? Or media, right? The big, giant media houses never thought that people are now going to seek information on Facebook or on Twitter. That's the new media platform, right? So in this way, the industry has completed. The digital disruption is right here in front of our eyes, if we care to notice, seriously. Now, the last 15 years, and now I'll turn my focus to a little bit of technology and IT, because that's the want of the day. The last 15 years, and for all those who are a little IT savvy, and for those who are not as well, The last 15 years has been a lot about these large applications from Oracle, SAS, SAP, Microsoft, right? Build these huge applications to get a business task done in your organization, in government, in whichever walk of life. And run a complete IT infrastructure to a service level. So you need a huge amount of compute, servers, large data centers, et cetera, to run these applications and catering to a service level, such that your query, let's say, for example, in an ERP mechanism, right? Your query or the entire enterprise resource planning happens in a given frame of time. But that today is changing. And how is it changing? This is what happens, right? Today you are expected, be it a government, be it an organization, or whoever, right? Even an institute, even an educational institute. Today you are expected to develop consumer-grade mobile apps, right? Everything is mobile. I want to invoke my applications. I want to invoke the data from my mobile applications, from tab, on the go, on the cloud, right? So the applications still remain the same, the big applications, but you are supposed to develop a layer on top which can marry the old world to the new world. Right? That's really the challenge. This is the IT transformation that you're talking about. And one thing that is really adding further to that, and which is where I'm now going to start connecting to our agenda for the day, which is smart cities, is Internet of Things. How many of us have heard of Internet of Things? A raise of hands, how many of us have heard of Internet of Things? Internet of Things, right? I'm sure there are multiple connotations and multiple interpretations of what we understand of Internet of Things, right? So what is really Internet of Things? It is where the cyber world meets the physical world. It's a nice animation, so I'm going to start that again. So, you know, when these guys on your screen now, the windmills, the cars, the ambulances start talking, that's where the cyber world meets the physical world. And I have a very beautiful analogy for it. And I mean, all of us have kids, right? I have a 10-year-old kid, and I keep looking at those animation, or what we in India call them as cartoon movies. It's not really cartoon movies, but whatever we call them, right? In the cartoon movies, everybody talks, right? The light bulb talks, the car talks, right? They speak, right? They speak, right? The car speaks, the road speaks, the electricity lamppost speaks, gets heard, and it speaks a language that we understand, English or Hindi or whichever way the animation is. Can you imagine that? You've all seen that with our kids, right? Now that's exactly what's going to happen. May not be English, but when these devices, right, myriad of devices, and I'm going to talk about them, when all of them start talking, well, not exactly English, but a language of IT, a digital language that technology world understands. That's Internet of Things. Now imagine the chatter. Now imagine the chatter, right? We only had big computers talking. So you remember Internet? 80s, a little bit of 90s in India, right? Mostly 90s in India. Suddenly all the computers started talking, right? Network. When I say talking, it means network, right? And we had this huge chatter of information. Now imagine if the light bulbs, the tables, the swimming pool, the ponds, the sea, the chemical factory, all of them start talking, like in an animation movie. Imagine how much of chatter you're going to have. A few use cases, as I mentioned, very difficult to read from here, but I'm saying smart cities, smart parking, smart lighting. If there's absolutely nobody on the road, why do you need the lights? But when there is a car passing, do you need the lights? Smart traffic. Can the ambulance talk to the signal, and then that can talk to all the cars in the next lane? Imagine the possibilities, right? Imagine the possibilities, and that's happening today. Now, all of this is possible, and this could be in chemical factories, this could be in educational institutes, this could be in homes, right? We've heard of smart homes, right? Where I can manage all my devices because they're talking to me while I'm in office. That's what smart cities, Internet of Things, all amalgamated together is all about. I've still not hit the IT challenge in doing that. Sounds good, sounds very nice from an animation movie, but we still don't know. So this is what we're talking about, paucity of time. I'll move on. From this slide, what is really important, and I need to read this, is if you see problems with using IT, right? Advantage, Internet of Things. Advantages, all of us know, improved customer service, better use of assets. From a smart city perspective, better use of assets on the field. So the government has to deal with certain amount of assets for managing that particular geography. The Goa government has to have certain amount of assets in which it needs to manage. How do you better utilize IoT, Internet of Things? Putting it to a digital world into a smart city environment helps doing that. But what are the problems? The problems are, I don't know if this works, necessary skills to make most of the IoT data. Now imagine again, going back to analogy, all of these devices start talking, but somebody talks French, somebody talks German, somebody talks Sanskrit, and there's a whole amount of chatter and you have no clue what's going around. That's about to happen. That's about to happen. Secondly, managing an increase in incoming data. The amount of data that is going to come in, as I said, 44 zettabytes is unimaginably large. None of the largest telcos in the world, none of the largest banking environments in the world, none of the largest IT environments in the world have seen 44 zettabytes of data at one place. That's what the digital world is going to see, right? So these are the problems. Now, here is two sides of the coin, right? The first side is understanding, so I'm just trying to size up the data challenge, right? When all of these devices are going to start talking, right, data handling becomes a challenge. And some of the challenges I listed here, but again, I'll go back to my analogy. One is, how do you understand the different, how do you have so many people talking? It's like, okay, let's take another example. If all of you start talking right here, and if I have to understand every bit of what everyone is saying, is that going to be a challenge or no? Yeah? All of us speak English, fine enough. Is that going to be a challenge? Most definitely, right? Now also imagine that each of you, or each table, speaks a different language. Challenge multiplied. Now also imagine if I, or somebody, or one of us, or the panel here, has to make sense of all of that data. There is information in it, there is intelligence in it, there is great value in it. Now we have to decipher that value out of all this chatter. So three areas, right? So that's the deluge of data, the different protocols that they will talk on, and how do you build an application layer that can understand all of this and bring out the intelligence in that chatter? That's the data handling challenge. On the other side, that's the data handling challenge. The data usage challenge is how do you make information out of this, right? Both these put together. How, first, do I make everything talk? Secondly, how do I normalize this data into one language? And then how do I make sense of it? That's what the challenge of IoT is. And all of these challenges, the last statement makes sense. Any IoT solution requires some combination of these building blocks. Make sense? Connectivity, if you need to have a smart city, if you need to have an Internet of Things environment, you need all of them to be connected. You need all of them to be mobile communicated, right? Anywhere, everywhere. You need all of this information to be available in the cloud somewhere. It's infrastructure. There's a lot of application lifecycle management. So it requires all of these building blocks like a Lego block to build a smart city. Up till now, in my presentation, I'm enumerating the challenges that are there in this Internet of Things or smart city, as you may call it. Right? So, sorry. How do I build an IoT solution? I'm sure all of us have that question, right? All of us have that question. Okay, fine, enough. Aejaz, you've spoken enough. How do I build an IoT solution? Well, just speak with a few folks, just a few of them, from all of these vendors, right? Because you'll need to, or talk to one federation of organizations. So EMC is a federation of organizations, independent organizations. So while EMC here is all about the infrastructure that you would require, so you see the building blocks, and I'm enumerating the building blocks over here. EMC that you see as an II, as a company, is all about the infrastructure. Pivotal that you see up there is all about an application platform for the next gen, right? A cloud or a mobile application development platform that the new world application developers, code developers can use and build very quick apps. Go back to my slide, in your mind where I spoke of the new world of IT, right? Same applications, but now you need to develop new age applications. This is where it helps you. VirtuStream is a cloud platform, a cloud services organization. So all of this put together, EMC strategically aligned businesses take the complexity out of IT. In the last part of my presentation, and I know I'm running short on time, I'm going to talk about very quickly on, so you've spoken, right? Manage millions of things, put data into action, and develop a cloud mobile IoT application which can understand this. How do I do this? Right? How do I do this? Sorry. So this is almost the same thing, so I'm going to skip. We've done work with Coca-Cola, we've done work with connected cars, we've done work with industrial turbines for GE. That's all the experience that we have as a big, large, multinational conglomerate, and we'd love to bring that experience to use in each of your environments as you see us. right? So this is important. Now, there are 4 major parts, and very, very logical as well, right? There are devices on which the entire IT, the compute, the storage, the application is in the device. Like an ambulance, it can be, right? The ambulance can start speaking suddenly, right? There could be devices like the lamp post, which I'm coming to the next part. Yep, the next part, sorry. The next part here, where I come, the lamp post will require certain devices external to connect to the lamp post to start talking. This will intrinsically talk, so the app logic and compute storage is inside. This will talk outside, but again will talk somewhere. And all of this information, whether you need extrinsic devices or intrinsically talk to the computers, will need to be either in a core data center off-premise on a cloud somewhere, and we can offer that as a service, or you build a data center upfront. That's how you really, really go about doing stuff. Right, so that's the IoT platform, the devices, right, the remote edges, the edge sites, right? These are the converged. So this is where the technology where we build in. We bring in the compute, the storage, the application right where the devices are, and let them talk remotely to an application set through a data center, where you can either develop your own applications or integrate third-party available applications. So if there's already an available application which can work on a data set for smart lighting or for smart parking, then we can integrate with those applications. Why? Because our Cloud Foundry application development platform allows this kind of next generation integration through an API layers. So that in a framework manner is how EMC can help you develop this IoT platform. Right? Multiple examples, but we'll skip for the moment. And what's the vision for the city of the future? Efficient, right? Imagine if everybody can talk in an effective manner and you can actually understand. I took multiple examples, right? If an ambulance talks to the signal light, which then talks in turn to all the cars put together, imagine the myriad of possibilities there. And so on and so forth, right? If you can actually have probes which can tell you the toxicity level in the lake water, again, smart city, right? Animals, if animals could convey their health to a centralized repository, that could make farming all the more easy. So all of this is the vision for the city of the future. As I spoke, we did this for 2 examples that I can quote here. There are multiple others that I don't have slides on. But City of Rio, this is what we did for them as a smart city environment. For Zhejiang, China, we did a complete traffic management, the end-to-end, right from all the 3 parts, right? The edge probes, putting technology there, communicating through the cloud the data to a data center, and building a data center, not just the infrastructure, but the application layer which can make intelligence out of all the data available. And that's what this is all about. Another visual or a graphic display of the same thing, right? Next steps. So what do we do now? You've heard me. You liked what I said, hopefully. What do we do? The best way to take this discussion forward is to allow us, and we've defined here a EMC vision workshop, right? We have an executive briefing center back up in Goa, in Bangalore, sorry, right? And some other places in the world as well, where we can do a complete workshop with customers or government entities or educational institutes or whoever cares to try and understand how we can transform the vision to reality. So that, I would plead, is the next steps that you can look at. And with that, that brings me to the final slides. This is our contribution to the government and defense in India. Multiple projects that EMC in Indian government environment has been part of, right? And my colleague Samir, would you just stand up and wave out from EMC is here, right here, so you can talk to him. And he would have information on most of these projects, be it the Aadhaar, be it the National Crime Records, the Census of India. We've been right there in the thick of things with Government of India. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.